Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. This is the GPD Win 3. This is GPD's latest gaming handheld. We're going to be taking a look at RPCS3, the PS3 emulator. We're going to be going through a bunch of different games, and I will try my best to go through all the different configurations for them. First, let's go through a game that I honestly don't think should be playable, but apparently is. So whenever you're going to be going into any PlayStation 3 game, it's really advisable to go ahead and go to check game compatibility. It will open up a browser for you, and you can just jump through there, and through the wiki and through the community they'll give you settings to try out. Additionally, the other thing that you should try, if we go here, you can see that there are configure game patches. Now what's nice about that is that you can actually download game patches that are available. So if we go here and slide this up, go here, so I have version 1, and you can see I just enabled everything under the sun. The other thing I did was I moved the taskbar over here just so that, because it's a 720p screen, the window environment typically anticipates Windows to be like at least 768. So you have that issue where basically the bottom half will be covered up over the taskbar. So just moving the taskbar over here helps considerably. Additionally, once you go and get the configuration from the game compatibility settings through the wiki, you are going to want to go and create a custom configuration, which is right there. And then in here, you're going to apply all those different settings that they had in the configuration. The only other thing that I did that wasn't listed was I changed the dynamic the resolution scale to 50%. So we'll go ahead and jump on there. This is the latest dev build of RPCS3, which is .14-11528. I am using the latest Intel drivers for Tiger Lake as of today, which are January 4th drivers. Forgetting the last digits, I think it's 9126. I think, don't quote me on that. I'll leave that in the description field of which drivers I'm using. And again, when you ever have this, I think you should, you can just double tap the screen. If you double tap the screen, that'll widescreen it. Alternatively, you could go and do Alt-Enter. Alt-Enter typically is the kind of catch-all hotkey for many different, almost a lot of emulators. They just use Alt-Enter. Apologies for the glare. So one thing that I am going to do, and you can't really see it on there because it's blocked by that, I am playing on easy mode just so that we can kind of show the intro.
My vengeance ends now.
The good thing about the intro is that it is packed with a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it is pretty stressful. While we're waiting for this intro, I will go through. I know there's a lot of people that must get tired of me saying the same thing all over again, especially the people that are subscribed to me. Thank you guys so much for being subscribed. Here we can see the API that's used. We're using Vulkan. This is the current frame rate. We're just playing a movie right now, so that doesn't mean anything. Like, this is easy to run 60 FPS with what this is doing right now. Average effective clock. Average effective clock is a new field that got added into hardware info, and what that does is it takes all of the cores that you have on the CPU. In this case, there's 4 CPUs, and there's hyperthreading, so there's 8 threads. What it does is it gives you the average effective clock across all 4 cores, but it also factors in when the cores go to sleep, when the cores I always say cars park themselves. So this happens very, very fast, microseconds, where a core will go to sleep for a second. There's a tremendous amount of savings for the CPU to be doing that. So that is why we see this effective CPU clock here. As this effective CPU clock goes up, that's where we really start noticing the heat load on this particular platform, but any Tiger Lake platform. As you use the CPU, that's really where the heat is going to be generated from. If we are just using the GPU alone, again, this is the black model, so this is the 1165 G7 version. This is the version that can bump up to higher CPU frequency, as well as has 20% more execution units over the 1135 G7. This model right here. I will I'm showing this for demo purposes only at the moment. I am also running this at 30 watt. You can see the PL1 right there is 30 watt. You will see CPU package power head up to 30 watt because I made the ceiling for it to be 30 watt. We're only using 20 watt right now because that's all it requires for this emulator to run this. You will see CPU package power start to rise as the game is being emulated. We're going to be taxing those CPUs pretty hardcore. You should see the average effective clock start to rise. Obviously, the GPU in the background, there are 96 execution units. I don't have that visible right now. It is visible in other different sensors. I'm just looking how to get that to display in here. I'll figure that out one way or another. That's it. So you can see our CPU package power went up to 30. I was going to say, like, why can't I attack? The good thing about this intro is that it is crazy intense. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's actually a pretty good benchmark, actually. Especially because we're like literally on a Titan moving up a mountain, which is rather epic. But more to the point, I'm playing God of War 3 on a handheld portable. That is obviously, frame rate is not perfect. It's playable. It's playable. I mean, obviously it could be smoother and it would be far more enjoyably smoother, but there is a novelty of playing God of War 3 in a handheld fashion. Kudos to the RPCS3 developers. These guys are really knocking it out of the park. It's surprising that we can emulate God of War 3 with 30 watts. Intel deserves some credit here because, you know, Tiger Lake, especially with their GPUs, are finally passing a specific threshold where it actually matters. And, you know, it's good times ahead. So what we're seeing here is, you know, early days yet, still, but super impressive. So you will see our, you know, especially when I just, with all those enemies that were there, we went down to like 15 FPS, but even being at like 25, 26 FPS right here, there's a lot going on. Super impressive. And frame rate is tanking down to 15, but it's playable. Like I'm not being frustrated right now. I won't like sugarcoat it and say that I wouldn't prefer to be running this at 60 FPS, but this is responsive. Now, one of the reasons that this looks a little bit grainy, obviously, is because we're not running at 720p. We are running at 50% resolution scale, so that is dialing the resolution down half. Effectively 360p. Actually, before I say that with authority, that could be different. It could just be on one... Actually, but I'm going to say it's 360p. This is emulating right now. How crazy is this? Now again, we're running 30 watts. It's taxing the hell out of these CPUs. You can see that we're already at 3 gigahertz across all 4 cores. That's average effective clock as well. That is difficult. That is difficult to cool. Only being at 80 degrees Celsius right now is impressive as all get out. Did I just die? I just died. Okay, well, that's God of War 3. It's impressive, to say the least. Let's go ahead and we're going to go to the next game, because we have to test out other stuff here. I shouldn't have skipped the coach. Where's this dude? Is he behind me?
Alright, Murphy, it's all set. Make it quick, huh? Follow me. Come on, Murphy, stop screwing around. I don't have all day. He's all yours now. Make it quick, Cupcake. Hey, almost forgot. I left you a little present on the bench. Have fun.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. When you guys are running the showers, the steam fogs up the camera so bad we can't see anything that goes down in there. You get what I'm saying? Well, what are you waiting for? Turn on the damn showers and the camera will catch everything you do. Dumb.
I'm gonna stab him.
Jesus, you scared the hell out of me. What the hell's going on? Where's Sewell? There's been a mistake. I'm a sequestered prisoner. You're not supposed to be here. Guards? Officer Sewell? Hello?
You don't recognize me, do you?
What? No,
Alright, so one thing here, we don't need this to be running at 130 FPS. It's just, this is not necessary. We're going to be just juicing the CPU for no reason and just wasting power and generating a lot of heat. So we're going to go to custom game and we're going to do frame limit and we're going to go down. So I'm going to use the arrow keys right here. Down, 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 enter. Go here. Now one thing is, like, you can't see the save button down here. So what you do, if you just hit enter, that'll save it for you. Then you can go ahead and press enter again. Now obviously when mouse mode is not working for me right now, that is going to be a firmware update that GPD will be sending out to me. When you get it, you won't have to do anything. That'll just work for you, so you won't have to worry about that at all. But that's just one thing I just wanted to talk about. Okay, so now one thing that I did here that I had to do because otherwise it was just going insane So you can see right here that the PL1 power limit is at 30, but CPU package power is at 15 watt. If you looked at the previous video just before, you would have seen that temps were like 95 degrees Celsius. It was just getting carried away, just rendering crap that didn't need to get rendered. It was just using CPU that, honestly, it just didn't need to use. You will have those problems. Typically, what's going to happen is if you don't set a frame limit, a frame cap, you're going to just waste power. I did put a frame limit in, as you saw before, but even at 30 watt and the frame limit, it was just using 30 watt, even though the game didn't need it at all. And as you can see, I forced it to 15 watt right here. PL1 is 30 watt, but it's my override is ineffective right now. The frame rate is fine, and our temps are now sensible. They're, you know, as they should be for 15 watt. So that's just something to be mindful of, especially when you're running it yourself. Because if you notice that the other games that I've been running, especially at the other demos that I've shown you guys, is that the system will scale dynamically based on load. If it hits its target frame rate, that's it. Game over. It'll just stop. But in this one particular instance, we just showed you that you can have pretty disastrous consequences by just trusting in that, especially when it comes down to emulators and stuff. When it comes down to native PC games and stuff, typically we really shouldn't have that issue. And largely, one of the things that is going to always jack up temperatures real bad is the CPU side of things. The GPU really doesn't make the SoC that hot. He's beamed me.
But I have to say, showing yourself above that crowd earlier was an excellent move. Nice work as always, Joker.
So one thing to note here is that I have gone ahead and set my PL rating back to 30 watt, my power limit rating. So you can see PL1 hard set is 30 watt, but obviously CPU package power is using 30 watt. And obviously we're, you know, topping out at around 80 degrees Celsius. We're no longer hitting that insane temperature just because we were just wasting power on a 2D emulated game for no reason. This particular part of Persona 5 isn't super taxing. Typically the city area is more taxing. So I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward to that part so you guys can see it. Alrighty, so this is the city area. This is the part that is pretty taxing. It's always been the typical benchmark. Once we get out into the city area, that's when we're going to start dropping frames in previous handheld devices.